Hello and welcome to Mr. Game Review Show. Don't forget to subscribe the channel, hit the like button and put a comment below the video. Thank you so much. Arabian Nights is a platform action game released in 1993 for the Amiga 500, developed by Chrysalis Software. The game features colorful and detailed 2D graphics, which were considered quite impressive for the time on the Amiga 500. The backgrounds are vibrant and the character animations are smooth. The game's art direction evokes a fantasy Arabian world with a cartoonish style that fits well within the platforming genre. The environments are rich with variety, taking players through dungeons, deserts, and palaces. The music in Arabian Nights is catchy and complements the whimsical atmosphere of the game. The sound effects are solid, although not particularly groundbreaking. The soundtrack fits the Middle Eastern theme with a nice blend of chiptune compositions. It enhances the overall experience but isn't too intrusive. Arabian Nights blends platforming with puzzles and combat, placing the player in the role of a prince trying to rescue a princess. The gameplay is challenging but not punishing, with solid controls. The platforming is responsive, and the level design offers a mix of puzzles, enemies, and obstacles that keep the player engaged. There are some creative mechanics, such as using different items and powers to progress through levels. One of the standout features is its mix of humor, as the game doesn't take itself too seriously. The story has light-hearted moments, and the game includes dialogue sequences that add charm to the overall narrative. However, the game does suffer from some of the issues typical of platformers from that era. Occasionally, the difficulty spikes, especially during certain puzzle segments or enemy encounters. The combat can feel a bit simplistic compared to the puzzle and platforming elements. Also, the lack of checkpoints in some levels may lead to frustration. While the game is enjoyable, its replayability is somewhat limited. Once you complete the game, there aren't many incentives to return unless you're a fan of the challenge or want to experience the story again. Arabian Nights on the Amiga 500 is a well-crafted platformer with a lot of charm, appealing graphics, and enjoyable gameplay. It offers a nostalgic trip for fans of the Amiga era, especially those who enjoy platforming and puzzle solving with a light-hearted storyline. Despite some difficulty spikes and limited replay value, it stands as one of the better platform games on the platform. Arabian Nights on the Amiga 500 features 9 stages. Each stage offers a unique environment and a mix of platforming, puzzle solving, and combat challenges. These stages range from dungeons to deserts, castles, and palaces, maintaining a variety in level design and atmosphere. Each stage typically concludes with a boss fight or a significant challenge, adding to the overall progression of the game. Arabian Nights on the Amiga 500 does feature boss fights. Each stage typically culminates in a challenging encounter, which often involves unique mechanics or patterns that the player must learn and adapt to. These bosses serve as significant hurdles at the end of certain levels, adding variety and intensity to the gameplay. While the boss fights aren't the most complex compared to modern standards, they provide satisfying conclusions to the levels and are consistent with the platforming action of the game. Whether Arabian Nights on the Amiga 500 is worth playing largely depends on what you're looking for in a gaming experience. Here's a breakdown of factors to consider. Why it's worth playing. Nostalgia factor. If you have a fondness for classic Amiga games or grew up during the 16-bit era, Arabian Nights is a great throwback. The game's quirky sense of humor, colorful graphics, and charming atmosphere hold up well as a nostalgic trip. Unique art style and story, the game has a vibrant Arabian-themed aesthetic with unique character designs, quirky dialogue, and a light-hearted storyline that adds character to the experience. Solid platforming and puzzle design, the game offers well-constructed platforming levels mixed with puzzles that provide decent challenges. For fans of old-school platformers, this balance of action and puzzle solving is a draw. If you're a retro gaming enthusiast or someone who enjoys classic platformers with a bit of humor and charm, Arabian Nights is definitely worth a playthrough. However, if you prefer more modern gameplay mechanics, it might feel a bit dated and frustrating at times. For fans of Amiga games or collectors of retro titles, it's a gem from the era.